All right, and welcome to the Montana Man podcast. I am your host, Oscar Mejia. Just wanted to mess with that. So, I'm going to try and record my first podcast. This is going to be an introduction to my podcast. It's going to have what I would like to cover. Like I said, I've never done this before. This is just kind of something I kind of wanted to start getting into. So, I'm sure I'll get better at it as I go along. So, yeah, here we go. Here's my introduction. I wrote it down because I tried recording yesterday and it was actually incredibly hard to record and think at the same time for some reason. Hopefully I'll get better at that too as time goes along. But yeah, my name is Oscar Mejia and this is the Montana Man podcast. In this podcast, I will be covering current news stories here in Montana, giving you the facts about things that you should know going on around you without the media spin. I started this podcast because I feel like I'm a pretty normal guy, and it's becoming increasingly more difficult to find news sources that aren't tied to some sort of ideology in one way or another. Left, right, Democrat, Republican. It's enough to drive you insane, really. Whatever happened to right and wrong, and why is the truth just not good enough anymore? Everything's so sensationalized. Everything's got to be a side. It's madness, really. Now, with being sincere, if I were to say I have no biases, I think that everyone does. Mine aren't really tied to any political party. In fact, I've never voted. I'm 40 years old. I've never voted locally. I've never voted nationally. I'm a deeply flawed person who had a spiritual awakening, and I'm trying to change my life and have a positive impact around the people around me. I have a motivation for the truth and for knowledge. I've always been really curious about things, how they work. I believe that in a world filled with increasingly more lies and bad actors, that we have a duty to use our voice and to speak the truth, the whole truth, so help us God. I think that podcasting is great. I think there should be more independent journalism and reporting and kind of us fact checking each other because you can't trust the media anymore. They're just so full of shit. It's just become apparent at this point. So I want to try and do a quick little introduction of myself. I live in Bozeman, Montana. I have a pretty small family. It's me, my mother, my sister, and my two nieces, and my nephew. I've lived here in Montana for almost 20 years, so even though I'm not born and raised here, I do consider this my home. I had a pretty rough childhood, which contributed to the development of pretty bad drug and alcohol addictions for most of my life. My first drink was at age 6, I believe maybe 5, 6, 5, something like that. My first use of meth was in 8th grade, right before a school dance. I had my first felonies at about age 13. That set in motion about 25 years of substance abuse struggling. I had long periods of white knuckle sobriety with what I would call maintaining. Didn't really do a whole lot. I wasn't really ambitious to achieve much. So within the last decade being the most harshest, the time being between jails and institutions or rehab just got shorter and shorter. The last and final time being like 72 days from when I got out of the Billings Pre-Release Center, to finding myself in jail again here in Gallatin County. The last time I went to jail, I just really hit rock bottom. I'd had enough. I knew that this lifestyle wasn't sustainable. And I just had a spiritual awakening. I don't know how else to describe it. It really impacted me deeply. And I just knew at that moment, when I got to that cell, I dropped to my knees and I begged God to help remove this curse, this ailment from me, this disease. And I just promised that he would help me, that I would just try to be the best man that I could possibly be. So this last time I got locked up, it was in the middle of COVID, so that had a lot to do with the stress and the uncertainty of the world. I knew then, thinking that everything might fall apart, that I had made a huge mistake with my life. I had gone down the wrong road and I needed to turn around and start walking back. And, I was 39 years old when I had this epiphany. So, the thought did cross my mind that maybe it was too late. Maybe I'd gone too long down this road and that there was no turning back no matter what I did. I would never have the life I wanted, so why try? I got out from there. I got on the Suboxone program. I've been clean and sober for 3 years now. I discharged from the DOC system in 2022. I got a great job. I make really decent money. Let me rephrase that. I have to work a lot of overtime to make decent money. But I am lucky enough to have a job where that's enough. So, I turn my life around. I pay taxes, pay a lot of taxes. Kind of a new feeling. I don't really like it. Not that I've never paid taxes before or anything like that. It's just I've never paid this rate of tax before. Like, I really got after it when I got out. And by the grace of God, I grossed 98K last year, which for somebody who's made as many mistakes in life as me is amazing. I really try to kick it into gear and work my ass off. Like I said, my youngest niece has cancer. She's 4 years old. My sister is a single mother of two, doing it all on her own. She is an amazing woman. I've never met anyone like her, and she was a big inspiration to me turning my life around. So anyways, what I have to do with the introduction, that just kind of give you an idea of who I am, where I'm coming from. I don't claim to be somebody with the answers. This isn't that type of podcast. I just want to give the truth, present the stories with no bullshit, and let you decide for yourself what's true to you and how things affect you. That's not my job to try to figure out how to tell you things to get the reaction from you that I want. That's the mainstream media's job. My job is to just try to get out information into the community and let each person make their own decision. This is all kind of new for me, with drug addiction. Antisocial behavior is a huge part of that. Pretty sad to say, but a large majority of my life I spent just looking out for myself and not giving a fuck what happens in my community, not caring what happens to other people, because I believe they didn't care what happened to me. That's changed now. I have a deeper understanding of myself and my community, and I am really just looking for a hobby, man. Looking to do something constructive with my time, and hopefully, if I can get some facts out and let some people know some things that maybe they didn't know and do it honestly, then I will consider this 100% success. So, this is my first recording. If you stumble across this, I will post as I can. I work pretty frequently. I would like to get to the point where I'm posting every week. But like I said, I'm very new to all this. I'm not very tech savvy, so I'm learning this as I go. So, yeah, that's my story, man. And if this is something that you might be interested in, please check back. And, it's nice to meet you, world.